Hello everyone and welcome back to SeatStory. I'm Raven and joining me to bring you this next match is going to be Noxious, of course, and our very special guest, VLPS. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's been a fun event so far. A lot of great matches, a lot of unique decks, as we saw last series. So excited to cast this winner's match between Amaz and Ek0p.
Yeah, and have you been having a good day, Nox? I've not really seen you too much now.
Yeah, we've casted a few series together, but primarily, like, the thing that I loved most about this day was really the last series. Now, it might have been a blowout, and AK Wonder might be slightly, angry that Amaz always drew the combo, always drew the nuts, and always had something. But that deck, the Malagos, Aviana deck with Kuhn, I just think is fantastic. We've had Aviana in the metagame, or at least accessible to us for like 2 years, and not once did she ever really become relevant. People tried her, but she just kind of failed miserably. And suddenly, they print Kuhn, and
changes everything.
Something happened. So we have a new combo deck that, yes, plays Malagos, but there's no Arcane Giants. We're not trying to play Violet Teacher Token. We're literally trying to combo like these cards together and OTK people, or just present a Malagos solo on the board. The metagame is not conducive to heavy target removal, so you're good to go. I really love that deck.
Yeah,
so I've been having a good day.
Yeah, it's been an awesome day so far, but before we actually get into this next series we've got coming up, we've actually got a bit of a special treat for you, and mainly to give a shout out to a huge thank you as well to HearthVODs, which is one of the key sponsors of Take TV and SeatStory and Home Story as well. So what we've done is you can see here on the page of HearthVODs that Take TV has done a post where basically what's going to happen is if you go onto facebook.com/HearthVODs and like their page and then comment on this post, if we get to 5,000 new likes over this weekend, what Take TV are going to do is they're going to actually purchase a top-end gaming rig from HearthVODs, their partners, and then give it to one of the viewers who has actually commented on the post. Just to say a huge thank you, as HearthVODs have been a huge support for Take TV this year, been a great partner, and it'll be kind of cool to try and give back and just say a thank you as we come to the end of the year. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I would definitely like to win a rig myself, but I don't think I'm allowed to enter.
You might be allowed to enter, but the odds you do it, you're not the target audience here. Right?
Oh,
you have enough Twitch chatters that need the high-end rig. You need to give it to them. And I think overall it's kind of nice that from Take TV to just buy something from their sponsor to then give away to the community. It's like everything's working out. I love it.
Yeah, HearthVODs have been a huge support for them, so just a little something they can do to just give back and also potentially give you guys something. So make sure we get those likes on the Facebook page. Again, it is facebook.com/HearthVODs. Just hit like on the page, comment on Take TV's post, and you've got yourself a chance to win a gaming rig. Doesn't matter where you are, we will post it anywhere. So good luck on that one. We'll enjoy watching those likes come up on the page over this weekend. But we have got the next match coming up, and it is going to be Ek0p versus Amaz. And this is the Group C's winners match. So the winner of this will go on, effectively with a 2-0 out of the group, and can relax for the rest of the day and tomorrow as well. And the loser is going to have to face the loser from the previous match and go on through there. So, you're obviously a well-experienced player, VLPS. How great is it to go out of a group 2-0?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's the feeling you want to have. You don't want to go into that decider match and everything's riding on it. You win, you advance, you lose, and the tournament ends for you on the first day of the tournament. So, yeah, definitely a lot of nerves for this match. People. Both bringing good decks and both bringing unique decks. So hopefully we see some fun matches and the best player takes it.
Yeah, we are getting into the first game now. It is going to be Ek0p versus Amaz, Pirate Warrior versus Dragon Warrior. So already we have seen a new deck, excuse me, from Amaz. We saw him 3-0 with that Druid deck in a really, really incredible performance, to be honest. And Amaz's Shaman is actually banned out, and so is Ek0p Shaman as well. So double ban there. It's going to be Ek0p on Priest Warrior Rogue versus Warlock Warrior Druid from Amaz.
That means we might see the Druid again with the combo deck from Amaz. Not everybody's convinced by that archetype. It does feel like a bit of a high roll deck where you have to get all the combo pieces together to get it to work. But it's been doing very well for him. Now, we saw a Slam in Amaz's deck. I'd say Slam is one of the cards that has kind of gone out of Dragon Aggro Warrior. I feel like most people are now cutting it to make room for the Pirate package.
Yeah, the Pirates, the Fierce Monkey package. To fit it all in, you have to kind of cut those slams. And what does he choose here? Does he go with the life tap? Does he go with the steady shot? I think the resource battle is more important here, so Oh, he goes with dagger, really.
Yeah, I think one of the problems is, like, it's one of those weird questions of a turn 1 Finley, is that whatever you pick now, you might not need it till much later on anyway.
Exactly.
And the problem with the live tap is, I'm pretty sure Amaz is aware Ek0p is playing Pirate Warrior, and the second you're taking damage to yourself, as well as the highly aggressive deck that you're against, it could have been a bit much. So I guess Dagger just helps him peel off some of the small minions like Patches, as we see him come onto the board. And he had a turn to equip it as well, right? He saw he had no 2-drop, so he could get that equipped and then maybe get some value, but already this is scary from Ek0p.
Yeah, historically not a good matchup for the Pirate Warrior, but Ek0p just starting out so strong with these, this opening with the weapon and into the Dread Corsair, and yeah, Amaz here, he has to play the Fierce Monkey defensively, but he's still very far behind on board already on turn 3.
This hand from Ek0p would be a lot worse if he hadn't found the Dread Corsair. Like, he has a decent hand, he's got the weapon, but it's very weapon heavy. And against the amount of taunts that there are in Dragon Warrior, if you don't get a tempo tool like Dread Corsair to benefit from that weapon, oftentimes you kind of fall flat on your face, and the Patches dies, and there's not enough development to follow it up with. This, however, is amazing.
Yeah, it's such a good draw, and one of the problems as well that Amaz has is he needs a dragon next turn, 100%, and he gets it as well. Okay, Twilight Guardian coming down is pretty big deal here, because otherwise he was just going to get murdered.
Yeah, it's still, that frothing still goes unanswered. It's always scary to leave a frothing on the board for more than a single turn, and it's growing in power, and we see on the other side that Ek0p does have a way to deal with it and still keep that frothing healthy at 4 health, which is so problematic to deal 4 damage to a minion as the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, nothing quite adds up to 4 most of the time unless you have a Corcoran of your own, basically. And I like this. You kind of never feel great about just throwing Corcoran into a minion and it dying. But if it's to open up the Frothing Berserker, I'm all for it. And already Amaz on 19. And because of that turn 1 Finley, there's no armor coming anytime soon, or at all, actually, in the whole game. So any damage Ek0p does to Amaz is actually just pretty much permanent at this point.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Just looking at the turn ahead, like, how does he ever deal with this frothing? Even dropping the Fierce Monkey, there's a follow-up with the Arcanite.
I was going to say, I think a lot of the time, the frothing is the one that gets thrown in, and it's only going to be weak to something like Ravaging Ghoul, Slam. Corruptor often takes the Corcoran, but if it does, then your frothing's alive and you're happy. So now he's got to make a trade-off. Do I kill the Corcoran or do I kill the frothing? And either way, it's kind of lose-lose for the Dragon Warrior in that spot.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at like a few turns ahead. So if Corruptor comes down onto the Frothing Berserker now, which I feel it almost has to, right? Oh, wow. Never mind. Am I just going to face tank it by looks of things?
Patches will do it.
Okay, he's going
that's always forget about good old Patches.
Yeah.
You know what? That'll work too. Good job, Amaz.
I like how now the casters have to remember what's in the deck to be played right away.
It's because how many times do you actually get to turn 5 and you've not played Patches out, right? You know what? I normally either draw it, or more often than I'd like to admit, or actually you've just played a pirate by then. So I completely forgot about Patches. I'll hold my hands up for that one.
Yeah, and Ek0p still has some follow-up plays here with the patches of his own from his Small Buccaneer into the upgrade as well from the Bloodsail Cultist. So he has no slowdown in damage coming down in these subsequent turns.
Yeah. And there's still potentially Heroic Strike, Mortal Strikes are the key ones because they ignore Taunt. So there's still plenty of damage even available just to draw off the top here for Ek0p.
To be fair, on Amaz's side, he's got, he just top decked this Twilight Guardian into Curator as well, which is going to draw the next Fierce Monkey, so
it might be enough.
That might be enough taunt pressure.
But it's really rough because the Reaper gets buffed in that spot. Amaz didn't know it, but that means the Reaper gets to swing at the Curator afterwards, and he's still taking damage. Perfect lethal on perfect kill on the Twilight Guardian.
Lethal on the dragon.
Lethal on the minion. But it does feel a little bit difficult when you're Amaz, because none of the taunts will really stall this weapon.
Well, I actually think if Ek0p didn't get a kind of upgrade effect, like, he was in actually huge trouble there. Like, he probably just loses at that point, actually. If you look at the rest of Amaz's hand, that was a huge, dangerous situation there. I think there would have to be self-damage onto Ek0p and then, like, Mortal Strike, right, to finish the game, if not. But that upgrade, absolutely huge here.
And I think it goes back to the frothing turn. I don't know that I like that value trade with the frothing. I really think that just keeping that at 4 health when you have an Arcanite Reaper to follow up and
there's just no way to deal with it, right?
There's really no way to deal without Execute. There's no way to deal with that card, and it would just have won in the game. But in the end, he had some value from his Bloodsail Cultist to be able to close the game out there. And winning an unfavorable matchup right off the bat with the Pirate Warrior.
Yeah, and the problem is as well, you know, you look at the rest of Amaz's decks. So he has his Warlock and his Druid. We've not seen the Warlock yet, but we know the Druid is like the Kun combo Druid.
Yeah.
And, you know, is that just too slow to deal with Pirates? It runs a lot of defensive tools, but sometimes, well, especially for Druid, defensive tools aren't enough.
Yeah, it's just going to stall a little bit longer until the board that's taken over by the opponent just eventually gets you. Just not quite enough. Yeah. That, however...
Looking good for Amaz, I feel. This is going into game 2. Amaz has chosen the Warlock over the Druid here. Not too much of a surprise because although, you know, Reno can always just get run down, I feel like Reno Lock at the moment has never been in a better spot to deal with aggro.
Yeah.
There's so many defensive tools, and already even just having Doomsayer available changes this matchup considerably.
It is huge. It is huge. He's most certainly going to point it out here.
I mean, can you even believe that a Doomsayer will die to Nazar's first mate South Sea deck hand? Like, there's actually an answer to a coined out Doomsayer.
Wow, yeah. Looking at the other side here, we have a response to and not only that, when you're using the coin here, you're almost hoping that it has to go off. Because what you're doing is, if this does not go off, you know, I'm never making it to turn 6 for the Reno if I ever draw it by turn 6.
This is actually just insane.
Yeah, Amaz is not going to be happy to see that Ek0p has the perfect response.
And I said the perfect because Fiery War Axe does it, but Fiery War Axe doesn't make a bigger board.
Yeah.
Whereas now, there's 4 minions tearing you down, and you have 2 mana to deal with them.
And also as well, yeah, like I say, it's about the minion damage because Fiery War Axe is going to do 3 damage to face later. You know, like that's the plan as opposed to having to soak into a Doomsayer. And even, you know, the full respect there, the Soulfire coming out, discarding away the Sylvanas, which is actually fine for Amaz. He would, as long as the Imp Gang Boss stayed alive, would probably be okay. Look at this, though.
It's just so much pressure. I mean, if there's any hope that he makes it to turn 6, I don't think he can afford to tap a single turn. And even then, I just don't see it.
I think one of the problems is as well, because of the way his hand looks, a complete lack of AoE, the Doomsayer not coming out, then even a Reno on 6 probably won't do it. Because, you know, that's your whole turn, and then you'll just get smashed in the face again.
You're going to have cards like Frothing that's going to be just massive by that point in the game, you know. And that's generally the way that Pirate Warrior wins against Reno. You know, even if they have the Reno, what you have to do is you have to set up a board presence strong enough that you have the follow-up damage after the Reno.
I think it's actually often better versus Pirate Warrior to go turn 4 Kazakas into the AoE and like armor or AoE minions versus having Reno like every single time. Just it's much more consistent.
And you can clear the board. Right?
Yeah, and it just more importantly clears the board, right? You're never going to be able to Reno and then Shadow Flame because it won't be enough.
Exactly.
Here, this is a play around Shadow Flame, I think, a little bit, just trading everything away preemptively, because oftentimes you can deal with the minions that get taunted up, you know, after the fact.
Now, the only punish here is that one new card, Blast Fire Crystal Potion, which we don't see in Amaz's hand, so there's no punish.
Ugh, look at this Frothing.
Yeah, it's just so strong. When it goes unanswered, it's just so punishing in these matchups.
18 damage available.
And we're not
19
done.
This turn now then with Arcanine.
Wow.
And we're
oh, no,
not
it won't
done.
be. I can't count, it'll be 16.
I think you take the trade just above the Frothing a bit further, keep it safe from any AoE.
Yeah,
that's your winning ticket right there.
Yeah, you know the coin's gone, so you know that you have this game over 2 turns. There's no Reno coming down next turn, so I don't mind the board play here and just taking out the refreshment vendor to prevent any type of power overwhelming Shadow Flame.
Do you like using the Arcanite Reaper for that?
Yeah, I don't mind using the Arcanite Reaper here.
Interesting. I guess it's all right because you can actually get the
board doesn't get hellfired, right?
Yeah,
which is the key, I think.
I guess
like
so.
you're losing, sort of losing 2 damage this turn, but you'll gain that through the minion.
And if you think about it, like even trying to factor in Shadow Flame, there's no one mana minion that you can Shadow Flame. That deals 4 damage. So there's actually no way to deal with this board at all unless Blast Fire Crystal Potion comes out, and even then that's only killing off the Frothing.
Yeah, and look, we can see there that
Shadow Bolt off the top.
If the trade was used with the Pirate, then Coil would have actually just given him an additional draw as well. So it seemed to work out overall using the Arcanite Reaper for control, and Ek0p off to a fantastic start, 2-0 in what? 5 minutes, like
that's the deck to do it.
I know, it's kind of crazy, and he's gonna be up versus Amaz's Druid, and I've not really seen this matchup too often, to be completely honest, but I've got to think it's going to be rough for the Druid.
Yeah, the ramp has to be there. I would say that much.
Moonfire helps a lot, though. It's one of those cards that, Jade Druid doesn't have access to that this deck does. Between Living Roots and Moonfires, you can often stem the bleeding a little bit. But the question is, do you actually get to put down such a hard board pressure? You do play Ancients of War.
I think Druid of the Claws, right? I think they're the key ones. If you get Druid of the Claw out, it's a big enough speed bump to be like, look, you've got to either soak 2 minions or a weapon removal or whatever. And oh, cool, Captain Greenskin in E0p's list.
Yeah, that's unique for sure. Did we see any type of weapon removal in this Druid list?
It doesn't have much room for it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the list is a very tight one.
It's like all early removal plus the combo, pretty much. Yeah. Like, that's the whole list. It's kind of crazy.
Patches in hand that might give Amaz a window of opportunity to not be too pressured. I feel like if there's any redeeming factor about this match, is the patches in hand.
Yeah, and also, Amaz's opening hand is actually not too terrible. There's like a tiny bit of ramp. There's Wrath for the emergency kill on something, and even just innovating out an Azure Drake can get some work done.
Yeah.
I just like life tap every day.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you're playing Dragon Warrior, Pirate Warrior, you're really not, like you said earlier, you're not hero powering very often. Sometimes you go to turn 6 or 7 without hero powering once. But when that point reaches in this matchup, you want to have something that gives you, endless resources, which Life Tap does provide. So I like the choice there.
Especially with how low the curve is. By the time you live tap, you can probably tap and play whatever you've drawn anyway. So
exactly.
Well, Leroy as well. So E0p's sort of pieced together his end game. He's just got to get there first.
Yeah, this is one of those matchups that you kind of want to flood the board like a zoo deck. You know that Druid has, the most issues with dealing with, just a strong board, and not the best way to do that with E0p's hand right now. He doesn't have those meaty minions that he wants to have at this point in the game.
How much do you upgrade this turn to then go into Patch's coin South next turn?
I don't mind it at all, and I think that's what E0p is going to end up doing.
What about just the 3/4 for tempo? Was that ever a thing?
I don't. Well, swipe just blows you out.
Yeah, I know, but it's just a question at this point of getting, do you need the upgrade on something or?
But the problem is he's many turns away from Reaper at this point, and he needs something, right? Whereas at least, even though it's just a 2/4, the upgraded weapon is at least, chipping away, and then suddenly you've already got Leroy, you've already got Arcanite Reaper for the back end of the game, but just go for the life tap instead. He gets out the Fiery War Axe draw.
I don't know that I like the life tap just to give the Druid this much initiative. It kind of worked out in the end. Getting that Fiery War Axe is going to be a pretty key card. He could go with the War Axe upgrade next turn into the Pirate with the Blood Soul Cultist on 4.
I think the only drawback on turn 4 is going to be a Fandral in this deck specifically, and you have the answer to that, right? It's not going to be the toughest thing in the world to deal with.
And even for E0p here, seeing Amaz has done an inefficient innovate is actually pretty key for him there. Just float with that 1 extra mana.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Can be able to clear up the Azure Drake pretty easily with this upgrade, of course. And now I think the next turn or so is really going to turn up the heat.
Yeah, all the damage is there. It's just a matter of now.
No, he's giving him knowledge that Patches is in hand. Come on.
That is true. I mean, that's pretty big when you only have 4 cards in hand. To know that one is Patches. The other 3 are so strong though that I think it's okay for E0p here.
Druid of the Claw suddenly not feeling too fancy now, just because it instantly gets killed by the Buccaneer in the weapon trade.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel good to drop a 4/6 into a 1-drop that deals 3 damage.
You ever cycle Wrath on the Finley and then set up like a Blood Mage swipe on 6?
I was wondering whether you actually Blood Mage cycle onto the Buccaneer.
Sure. That's reasonable enough. Yeah.
Just because in this against Pirate Warrior, swipe pretty much kills any singular minion.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that's actually higher than 4 health anyway. So it would sort of double cycle over the course of a turn when Thanos dies as well. And I feel like Amaz is getting to the point where he needs this cycle. He needs something else to do. As you can see, the Druid of the Claw is going to get absolutely slaughtered if he plays it.
If he had done the ping on Finley, he would have taken the 3 damage this turn, more than he has, and had a clean board going into this.
Ooh. Wow, this game's looking super close. It's chain Druid of the Claws, but then a hell of a lot of damage.
Yeah, and it's actually really huge that he doesn't have clean ways to deal with those 6 health Druid of the Claws. So, yeah, it kind of looks good from Amaz from this point. Drawing that second Druid of the Claw definitely made things look a little bit more, brighter on his side.
There's Ancient of War in the deck too.
Yeah.
It's kind of necessary for the aggro metagame.
It's pretty much game breaking in this matchup as well. Like one Ancient of War is almost, unless you're already super far behind as the Druid, there's like a frothing on the board or something. Ancient of War is just almost undoable. Is he going to double trade into the 1/1 soon? No, okay,
I don't think so.
Face.
I don't mind this play, but it's going to end up getting pretty punished with these Druid of the Claws because he's actually not going to have a way to get through those cleanly. He's going to have to end up sinking,
Like Heroic Strike next turn.
yeah, like 9 damage into it just to get through it.
But the fear of God into him, Ek0p is doubting himself now. Like, what do I do? I just gave him
not
Welsh.
trade.
I think the worry here for Ek0p as well is his hand doesn't lend itself to do really anything else.
Yeah.
You know, Leroy is the same as Heroic Strike to a certain extent this turn, right? It's just sort of melee damage you have to do that he's going to get screwed over by taunts. So you just pick one and play it and deal with the outcome here. So I'm going to be able to get the draw off. Is there any merit to swiping?
I don't think so.
I
You
don't
really
like it
The 1/1s
very
aren't
much.
enough.
You
right?
don't want to take weapon damage the rest of the game, and I think it's important to hero power as well every single turn going forward.
Yeah, I like that. Good in-between play.
Yeah, holding the 1/1's actually nice just because there are still like deck hands and some pirates knocking around. Also as well, there's actually getting to the point where you might see like a reverse aggression with Druid of the Claw charge.
I
You
wouldn't hate
swipe
that.
and
Close out
living
the
roots
game,
and
yeah.
just be like, look, you've got life tap, friend. You've got life tap and you don't really play that many taunts. And that is the worst draw in the deck, would you say? The Arcanite Reaper?
Yeah, any weapons.
Oh
at this
my
point are
God.
Not. Yeah, so here goes the 9 damage into the Druid of the Claw.
And he can't even put himself low enough to make a Mortal Strike
He's
active.
thinking about using Mortal Strike instead since it's more mana efficient, so he can weave in Heroic Strikes later, like go Reaper and then into Heroic Strike instead of Mortal Strike, but I don't think the game's going to last that long.
Yeah, I think you really want the Mortal Strike as the finisher, right? Because as you said, there could still be Ancient of War available, and if you've got that Mortal Strike that's just that extra push, I think it's too valuable a resource to use up on a minion at this point.
Yeah.
Ouch. That will feel good for Amaz, though.
Yeah.
For all the pain on Ek0p's side. Druid of the Claw, really good card against the Pirate Warrior, more so than against, say, Dragon, right? Dragon will tend to have some mid-rangey minions of their own that they can fight off against. But against pure aggro, these taunts are crippling.
So the benefit here for Ek0p, if there even is one at this point, is the Arcanite Reaper Heroic Strike can be used to kill this Druid of the Claw. Then he's almost got to presume he has free reign the turn after, but it's if he survives the turn after. He'll take 4, so we'll go to 9. Then there's 3 damage.
Oh,
Yeah, there's actually not enough to
That's
kill him
the way to
off.
do it.
Wow, that's even better.
That is huge.
Yeah.
that is a massive draw right there. Does he have a Kor'kron Elite in the deck? Does he have enough mana to play it? Because from what I'm looking at, he's pushing assuming 6 next turn on the Druid phase. Druid's going to be at 19 from an
He has
armor.
14 next turn, right?
So, yeah, he's going to be like 4 to 5 off.
Well, what if he draws second Mortal Strike? Is that enough?
Oh, hang
No.
on.
12, 18.
18, yeah.
Yeah.
Hero power happens, which I'm assuming will. Now, what do you do here? Do you nourish and try to get the second Feral Rage? Do you try to develop here? I mean, you're likely still to have lethal if you nourish into another burn spell.
I don't know if I just like Azure Drake.
Moonfire.
Azure Drake hero power, right? Like, he is never going to kill that Azure
Oh,
Drake. Like, not in a million
That's
years.
GG right
There you
there.
go.
Oh, yeah, and that's just going to be game.
Moonfire did it.
Okay, so extremely close one. You see how close Pirate Warrior can get a lot of the time, even when the games don't go their own way. Like, double Druid of the Claw, and pretty much a terrible hand from Ek0p midway through that game with all the weapons. And, and he still nearly did it, actually, so that deck is extremely scary. But Amaz does not get 3-0'd, which is the important story here.
Has he dropped the Druid game yet? Is the question.
No, not
He's
yet.
4-0 with Druid.
4-0 with Druid.
Let's
so
do it. 5-0, 6-0. I want to see that deck
I mean,
reverse sweep.
The Priest matchup is definitely, I think, Druid favored, depending on the ramp opening. But the Rogue matchup is historically Rogue is one of those decks that deals with Druid well, and that's a pretty good hand on Ek0p's side.
I think the only matchup where Druid had an edge over Rogue was in the days of like Malygos OTK, where Druid got there a little bit faster, and I think Rogue struggled to get the pieces together. But that's like an exception to the rule.
Yeah, I think one of the issues here that Amaz may run into is just the sheer tempo, right? Like, you see Druid of the Claw come down and just sap as well as play a minion, and suddenly, the Druid of the Claw coming down again, he's nowhere near as powerful.
Turn 2 Pillager. Ouch.
That actually is pretty rough. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, would you go for turn 2 Pillager, or would you play a bit slower and keep your coin?
I think it would heavily depend on what this next draw is.
Right. Because you can always weapon and push 3 damage, right? Which is also a bit aggressive.
Sap. Yeah, I think weapon's actually just fine most of the time here because it's still a hell of a lot of damage. And the cool thing about the Buccaneer in Rogue is that the weapon is so easy to activate. It's just like, oh, well, there's a 3-2 that isn't going anywhere soon.
Amaz is pondering, do I want to Nourish now or wait? And he's going to go for the Wrath play off of Nourish Crystals. Tries to ramp up as quickly as possible to get to the Ancient of War, to play it naturally so he doesn't get sapped and can't replay it right away, which often happens off of Innervate.
Okay, so no doubt with the draw the Conceal, we're going to see the coin into the Tomb Pillager. Have you played a lot of Rogue?
I have.
He has, yeah.
It's so strong in this current. It feels so good right now.
I've not played like new Rogue.
Oh,
If it, like with the Pirate package, basically.
It just feels like it can allow you. It allows you to contest with aggro decks now. It feels like Rogue finally has answers to aggro. It feels like Rogue is being the aggressor, to be honest. Rogue feels like the aggressor in a lot of these matchups now.
So what you're saying is Rogue can do everything now?
Rogue can do a lot of things right now. Even the Freeze Mage matchup, which historically is known as a bad matchup, does not feel so bad.
Just get that extra damage in
on turn 1, yeah.
So much quicker at
It's just a
getting
guaranteed weapon, right? It's so good.
Very good.
Okay, Black Sea, Amber Weaver.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's play that Yeti.
The main issue is the taunts into taunts is like, how is Ek0p going to apply pressure through these taunts? You know, you can sap them and they'll just get replayed, but how does he have enough damage to connect?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time the key to making these saps useful against big taunts is to have at least some measure of cycle of tempo development at the same time. But if you're just sapping them, to have them be replayed is just as bad as
in conjunction with a questing or in conjunction with an Edwin.
Does Ek0p play questing? I guess so, right? It's like the standard build, isn't it?
I mean, we see a Conceal, so some people are still playing one Conceal in a list with no questings, but the majority of people now have kind of shifted to the no SI7 agent double questing list that has been popularized recently.
Yeah.
It's a very strong list.
Some people still prefer the SI7. I'm not a huge fan of the SI list. At the moment, I think the questing list is just easier to get blowout wins with.
I think a lot of the time as well, in the game at the moment, does the 2 damage actually do that much, right? I think like compared to, the room you can do, as you said, for the questings that can just literally win you games just straight away. It's kind of nuts.
Thank you.
Tomb Pillager coming down now from Ek0p, and is he choosing? Yeah, okay. Choosing the second sap because this pretty much says, okay, replay it, and then I can kill it next turn.
I mean, something like Cold Blood would be so strong here, but it's just, there's no immediate, like now when it comes down again, it's like, how does he get through these taunts now? And he's got the Feral Rage follow-up, he's got Kun in hand already, so we've reached the point where, I don't think the Rogue has done enough.
Unless Gadgets on his draw next turn.
The next draw is definitely huge for the Rogue.
Because even with the hero power here, Ek0p can get through this. With the minions and the weapon he has available, he will get an additional coin. But then, as you said, what's the follow-up to actually win the game after this? If Gadgetzan's drawn, though, this is huge. Not a Gadgetzan. Close.
Still pretty good
minion that draws card.
Very good draw here, yeah.
It doesn't matter exactly that it's not Gadgetzan, it's still a very powerful draw.
Backstab even has a Vis available as well.
Yeah. You've got the Conceal if you want to keep those guys healthy.
Do you actually backstab coin fan
how about
to save the Galaxy?
Backstab, Eviscerate, Dagger, and then Conceal? Do you have enough? They can keep your board safe, and then you can they hit it again with your face on the following turn. Or is that too costly?
And just missing the 9 damage this turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
just leaving the war up.
Yeah.
I think it's too important to keep getting damage in right now. So I kind of like the route that he took.
Okay.
In getting that 5 damage in.
That's really.
I don't mind the coin questing though. I don't mind getting it out, or the Conceal rather. Yeah.
Yeah, this is huge. I mean, like, well, he's almost setting up lethal, right? Like, why not? And he still has Fan to draw an additional card, as well as the card he'll draw off the back of his turn.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be, the point where with this Druid deck where sort of either experience or some real heads-up play comes out, because he could actually play Coon for 10 armor here, go up to 20, and with what you're presuming is like no cards for Ek0p, try and stabilize off the back then with Druid of the Claw, Feral Spirit afterwards. So we'll see if this pays off, because it's kind of a...
I like just the mana crystals play everything.
Yeah, that's actually just better.
Because you get the armor from Feral Rage, right? Which gives you almost 10. And you also get to develop a taunt minion in the process, and a 7/7 to get good trades with. No more saps. One Eviscerate down, one Backstab down. So the amount of work that the Rogue has to put to get this done is pretty steep.
And this is where I kind of worried for Ek0p a couple turns back. You know, when he all-in'd, you know, a couple turns ago, you know, now he doesn't have a way to get through this taunt to deal 19 damage.
Well, he can coin into Found Knives now, which is pretty huge. Allows him to cycle a little bit and maybe set something up. But as you said, 19, it's a pretty big ask.
This is huge, though. Like, Ek0p keeps drawing. Like, his last answers keep being cycle. Like, he draws the Fan, he draws the second Drake now.
And now he has Drake of this as well, which is super good.
But there is a Azure Drake with Living Roots, Moonfire, can help clean up a lot of this. There are a lot of live spells in Amaz's deck, too. Like, second Moonfire would give him like a raw kill right there.
Yeah, you definitely don't consider the Aviana here. You definitely go Drake.
Yeah.
If he played the Brewmaster Cthulhu version...
Oh my god. I've actually played a little bit of the Cthulhu variant of this Druid list.
Yeah.
I like it, but you know, it was a bit hit and miss when I personally played it. I only played a few games though. But it's kind of cool to see the Malagos version.
Would he have beat the Pirate Warrior if he was playing that Brewmaster Cthulhu version?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Hey, you played Twin Imps? It's fine.
Yeah.
Sure. I have a hard time finding room for Twin Imps in a Cthulhu, like in that Cthulhu list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought that's like a key card, right?
You feel like it is, and then you realize that you're dead by the time it comes out. And you might as well play Ancient.
I think that's just you playing badly.
Oh, that's probably it. That's probably what it is. All right, Edwin, another card.
Doesn't change too much this turn. Zero Drake always going to come down. Oh, I bet he wish he had a conceal.
Yeah, he wanted those Cold Bloods earlier, man.
It would have been game-winning.
Very strong with those conceals.
It's actually just like Cold Blood's just so scary. It's so stupid because like there was a point where, you know, early days where it was always Leroy, Cold Blood, you know, that kind of just burst kill combo. And now you just like, there's just a random dude on the board. It's like, oh, Cold Blood, go fade, and then conceal, and you're like, no, this is unfair.
Yeah.
And look at this. So no saps left in the deck. 5/10, that's going to be very hard to deal with.
There's a card that would have also been good earlier on.
So he is indeed playing this questing list.
Still not a terrible card, but definitely not the card you wanted to see.
I mean, he's just going to play his hand, right?
Yeah, that's all you can do at this point.
Super all in, and Ek0p just has to.
Do you buff the questing here? I think you do, right? Because it goes up to 5 health, so...
And plus, the trade is always happening on the questing, right?
Yeah.
It's always, so you may as well get as much value as possible.
I don't think you put it on the Drake.
Yeah, because if you do... Oh, no, he's playing Van Cleef as well, so the questing does go to 5 anyway.
It always goes to 5, yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm just saying that the Aviana will probably go into the questing, so
Okay.
I think this is actually fine. For some reason, I thought there was only the Cold Blood to be played, and then like the Aviana just happily like value trades into the questing, but of course there is Mr. Van Cleef over there to buff it again.
I mean, that's a very strong board. That was
Sort of from nowhere.
Very solid turn out of nowhere from Ek0p. The main problem is this Aviana.
Oof, that's
so
gonna hurt.
Can he start the cycle chain Amaz here with his gadgets in?
Even if he doesn't, most of the minions he picks up are live here.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the big deal.
Here we go. Okay, nothing too crazy as the first draw was a minion. It's going to end the turn very quickly.
It does threaten, you know, just a win next turn, though, because he has to go through everything.
And there's even the benefit of, you know, sweeping a hero power in as well because of the Aviana buff. Okay.
No more saps is what we have to remember. So this is all that Ek0p's got to fight with. Could this be the real reverse sweep from Malagos' combo?
Is Amaz actually going to 6-0 in groups with this Druid?
This is unbelievable.
It's a beautiful thing to see, though. I'd like to see this deck, how far it's come. It's been, you know, refined so much. People try the Cthulhu version. People try the Malagos.
Over a very short time as well, like very short.
Maybe we're not even there yet. Maybe it's
probably not.
More
maybe Arcane Giants come back.
I mean, those are strong. 0 mana 8/8s. They're pretty strong. Pretty strong card.
Also, as well as the as just the meta changes, right? Because you know, you saw it from day 1 to day 2. The meta completely changed with the expansion. So I imagine a few more weeks Deck is going to look a little bit different, but fantastic draw for Amaz here. Can just cycle to his heart's content now.
This deck is empty by the end of this turn.
Yeah, I mean, he also probably wins if he draws swipe.
Yeah, he's got the innervate, so no spell there.
You can use Savagery with Malagos, like your hero power. I mean, it benefits from spell damage baseline. We know that for a fact, even if you don't have anything. You could take it and just kill the Edwin with it.
I'm also pretty sure Amaz could close his eyes and pick one and still be in a pretty comfortable space. Like,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know, you could take this for
I think
this,
it's
this
more
for this. It's
can he
like,
somehow end this game this turn?
Oh man, he's looking at Savagery like, does this benefit from spell damage?
let's find out.
Hope I am not. Yeah, hope I don't look like an idiot here on stream. It works. It works that way.
Time waits for no one.
Should that work?
Should he have kept cycling
Yes.
first? I don't know. I feel like he could have maybe drawn lethal if he had. Yeah, I don't know.
Where shall I strike?
I mean, it's semantics at this point. The game ends.
Yeah, and it's
Regardless.
kind of funny as well because like we see the Druid of the Claw in Taunt. He could have just played it in charge; it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But we saw this from Amaz in his earlier series where he, especially with this deck, because it's the only deck we saw him play in the other series, but he played so safe, like as safe as possible to just say there is zero way in any outcome whatsoever you're going to win this game. So we see that style of play again, and I think with this deck it kind of pays off.
Punished by Deathwing.
Yeah, that's it. It's the only thing, and Ek0p is now losing again. It is going to be 2-2 as Amaz evens this series up with this Druid deck. It's 5-0. It's
I
one
believe
more.
in it. I believe in this deck.
It's actually surprising me how well it's performing, to be completely honest. I always feel like I've looked at the list a few times, and not Amaz's exact list, but, you know, the general list knocking around. I always just felt it's just missing it's just not got enough early game in terms of actually surviving.
There's no shaman in tournaments.
But
right?
yeah, you know, with the ban actually just changes everything, to be
Right.
fair.
Yeah. Hopefully we see more people bring this type of deck to events.
Yeah.
I know a few people in the tournament here actually chose to bring it, but I feel like by far and large, most people don't think the deck is good enough to be played. It's not a good enough combo deck and would rather play something like Freeze Mage, for instance, which they know and they've practiced and they've played repeatedly, but ultimately the decks have a similar purpose in the end.
I think time comes into it as well because
Yep.
this is not this isn't like there are intricacies in Pirate Warrior, right? You know, in
Sure.
terms of maximizing damage, but the deck is relatively straightforward. Whereas this, like, I feel like you slip one turn and it's just game over. So
Game over, yeah.
a lot of players, I imagine, just haven't had time to even half practice this deck. Never mind, you know, get it tournament ready, so to speak.
Exactly.
Have you brought this deck?
I guess you'll find out tomorrow.
I like it. Okay.
Oh,
110.
I like that.
Okay. I have faith, don't we? Okay, so it's gonna be versus the priest, and this is like straight up Dragon Priest, right? It's not Reno from Ek0p, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it looks pretty
It is.
standard.
Straight up
Very
Dragon
important-
Priest.
Yeah, very important to get the pressure down early. And I don't know, there's no turn 3 and there's really no turn 4. Well, he does have a play here, and I think it's important to continue developing. And like I mentioned earlier, zoo out the Druid. That's the one way that Druid historically cannot deal with board presence very well.
I like Deathwing in case that Malagos
Yeah,
Aviana
yeah,
shenanigan
yeah.
happens.
I
Just
like it.
reset this board and clear it all out. And the Druid has nothing. That deck does not have room for mulch.
Nope.
So you do need to cut somewhere.
Yeah, and also, you know, even though there's no turn 3 yet for Ek0p, he does have a pretty, you know, power play of double, like, to 5 drops on turn 4 and 5 with the
Exactly.
coin. So, and you know, we said earlier, like, how does Druid actually kill an operative? Like, what do they actually do? You know, someone explain this, because it's very, very difficult, and all the while, the operative's putting on a lot of pressure.
Stopping the priest from drawing cards at the very least for the time being. So one living root's down for the potential Malagos setup.
The only thing, the main
There it
thing that
is.
disappoints me the most about the way this game could go is the operative cannot pull Aviana or Kun, because that would be kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
Are you in favor of a change where it could pick up any card from your deck that's played at any time? It reduces the odds, like the spread. It increases the spread, that is, of what the priest can get, since he might just get something you've already played.
Yeah.
So it's more likely he picks up later game stuff that you don't mulligan for.
I kind of like how it works now, because there's even at least some thought for the player that's against the operative to think, well, I know what's in my deck, right?
Yeah.
So if I've played 2 swipes, then he 100% does not have swipes. So I kind of like that interaction. There's still some huge surprises that can come out, especially one played on curve or even early like now. But I do like the fact that you can actually at least think about what's possible.
It can't be an Ancient of War, and it can't be Kun, and it can't be Aviana. We've established that.
Exactly.
What do you guys like here? I like the Drake.
Yeah.
The Drake just feels great.
Yeah, just flooding the board. And look at this. You have the second Cabal Talon Priest in your hand. Such a scary card.
You don't need the ramp, right? You're going to get there at a very steady priest pace,
Yeah,
I
don't
feel.
think you need ramp at all in this game.
Oh. Ooh.
And you have the perfect answer in your hand to Shadow Word Death, or to Ancient of War with Shadow Word
And
Death.
Amaz probably didn't want ramp this turn either, so here pretty much hero power passes.
Well, you say that, but if I can get Aviana, Kun, double Ancient of War, I might take the turn.
yeah, but he's going to play an Ancient of War next turn, more than likely, right?
Yeah, Innervate, go.
Yeah, does he make it to turn 9?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure available.
I think the reason Ek0p took the Wild Growth is because he planned to keep the Blackwing Corruptor and the Bookworm just for the sake of dealing with minions as opposed to just playing them for tempo. Because he's already got tempo, so he's looking just to ramp up a little bit and play the 3-drop that he already had in there.
Just wants to play that Deathwing. Yeah. He's trying to keep up so that when the combo comes down from Amaz, he just can just follow up with Deathwing and be like,
Yep.
yeah, game.
I did it.
What's up? In which Amaz will need actually Raven Idol into mulch to have any chance.
It feels like it's almost done here. Like, we have the Shadow Word Death to answer the Ancient of War. Brawly's going to try to buy time with Fel Rage, I imagine, and then pray that something else comes along.
And the problem as well is, based off what's going to be drawn, obviously if Malygos comes into the hand, then the Aviana combo is happening. But in general, like, the longer Amaz waits, is the longer Ek0p can do this to him. But then if he does it any sooner for just like a value play, then Deathwing's just going to come down and end the game. So it feels like oh my god.
He's just dead. That Ancient of War is not enough. There's enough damage to get through the war with the Blackwing. And
still get the lethal done. You'll have exact lethal through the...
And that's exactly the line that the Dragon Priest wants to have in this matchup. Just
chain drop minions.
Minion pressure, minion pressure, minion pressure.
No reverse sweep coming from the Druid, but he also had a very top end heavy hand.
Yeah.
The Priest started a bit slowly.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the deck as well.
Yeah.
You run this many top level cards and this much ramp. A lot of the time you're going to open and not have much to do, and then you couple that with Ek0p, pretty much just curving out with Priest. Knowing what's up, having the Blackwing Corruptor and Ek0p with a little dance.
With a victory dance.
Why not? He's just gone through in the winners, bracket of his group. So he's done 2-0 in group. Got to feel fantastic.
Amaz will have to win loser's match afterwards, right?
Yes.
There is going to be a loser's match right after this, so Amaz is going to get another chance. But Ek0p with the win against the Druid. There was a real chance there was a reverse sweep there coming from Amaz.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is for Priest to, slip up for a couple of turns as well. And, Druid can buy the time needed. So, extremely close series. Amaz nearly did the reverse kill with the Druid, but it did topple in the end. Ek0p's here to join us. Congratulations, friend.
Boy, what's up?
What's up, boy?
Were you really cool series as well? It looked like you might have actually just ran away with the series at the beginning, but towards the end, were you feeling a little bit tense going into that last game?
Yeah, gotta make it exciting for the viewers, am I right?
Okay, going with the old excuses.
Yeah,
that's a good one, Ek0p. We all knew what happened.
I mean, Amaz's Druid is very strong, as you've seen against this series in this series against AK Wonder, and yeah, once again, it almost reverse swept me. So pretty strong deck, but ultimately, I think all three of my decks were capable of beating it. He got fortunate enough to get 2 wins, but on the third try, he failed.
Yeah, he was stuck in hand with Aviana and Kun for the entire game. It wasn't his opening hand and just couldn't move anything.
Yeah.
Was there ever a consideration knowing what Amaz's deck was, and you said it could have given you some trouble? Were you ever thinking about banning it going into this match, or were you always just I'm banning Shaman because that's my strategy overall? I'm sticking to it.
Overall, my decks are pretty good against Druid, so I wasn't really afraid of that. And typically, Oscar Mas. Yeah, I don't know. It's I thought my lineup was favored against him. I was the game against Forsten, the match against Forsten was more tense, so I'm happy I don't have to face him again if I lost against Amaz. Yeah, so I'm happy to be through here.
Okay, well, congratulations. You get to chill out now and have some time to just relax and prepare for a couple of days' time that you'll be playing again. So good job, Ek0p. And that is going to be it for us for now. We're going to a short break while we prepare the next match, guys. This is SeatStory Cup. Don't go anywhere.